Hello, so today I want to do another tier list talking about gold augments. So this will be me trying to introducing a lot of the gold augments, talking about them, the situation where I would take them, what I think about them in terms of like max cap, full strength for your board and all of that. And it kind of continues our little series or a little mini series of ranking all of the augments in the game on this opening set 16 patch. If you like my content, please make sure to like and subscribe. If you want to see the silver augments, it was done yesterday, so this is gonna be the gold ones. Then prismatics I'll try and do sometime later in the week. I normally do daily TFT guides. These tier lists are more for fun and more introductory, just to like kind of talk about the stuff that's in the game, but there's gonna be lots of how to play different comp guides as well as different game mechanics. The rerolls and forecast guides are also gonna be coming out next week, as well as Orn artifacts probably later in the week or early the week after that, so stay tuned. All of that's coming for set 16. Anyways, let's go through these. Just in terms of ranking, whenever I put something really high tier, it's something that I'm more often taking in my games or something that I value like in more spots. Every augment can have its use, every augment can have its choice, and you should always pick an augment that best makes sense in the spot that you're in. If you need combat, take combat. If you need items, take items. If you need gold, take gold, right? It doesn't matter exactly how strong it is, it's what you need most, which is usually where the augments come into play. 3/3s. So this one I think is a lot of gold. I actually like this one quite a bit. Usually it's not like the craziest thing, but it's actually like around like what is it, a 2-star 3 cost will sell for like 8 gold, so this is around like 30 something gold, which is pretty solid for a gold augment. But usually you get this a little bit later in the game. I think you get on like stage 4, so obviously it's like a little bit more gold, but it's like a little bit late in the game. I think that's fine if you're looking for something just like stabilize your board, maybe like, you know, play around the actual 3 cost. I think it's a lot better. If you're taking it just for gold, I think there's maybe some options that are a little bit better than this, but I think it's like solid situational type of thing. Magic roll, I always put this one in A tier. I think this is one of those generic augments that you can pretty easily take and not feel too bad about. I often find myself not rolling magic roll when I have the augment choices, because all of them are pretty useful. It either gives you a bunch of components, it can give you a lot of gold, or it can give you like actual team-wide like combat buff, which is pretty powerful, and like HP for your whole board. There's also like the chase niche conditions for it, but on average it's generally going to give you either a decent amount of econ or a decent amount of items or like units to play around, stuff like that. So I think this is generally pretty good. I usually lean towards this as like a default option, so I take it a little bit more often than not, so I put in A tier for that reason. Advanced loan, these ones I've tried them out. So there's advanced loan, advanced loan plus. Depending on when you get it, it just gives you more gold, because earlier econ is better. That's why the later ones, the plus versions, give you more gold. It's just to compensate for the fact that these early ones make interest, which is why they're valued a certain way. 20 gold for a gold augment starting the game is extremely powerful. This is really, really good. The only reason I put it in B tier is because I don't think it's like crazy strong, because it has a downside of your next augment is 1 tier lower. Depending on the augment choices, it could be really bad. I think that, you know, from a gold to a silver, it's not as bad as a prismatic to a gold, if that makes sense. Because like if you miss out on a prismatic combat, you can be very far behind with your lobby and it'll really hurt your max cap. But a lot of gold augments, they're very situational, and sometimes you can even miss on them because there are so many gold augments in the game. So there's a good chance that you hit something bad anyways, and then the silver augments could be like, you know, some of them are like, some silver augments are as good as gold augments, but you know, it's a little bit of a bias or a situational thing. So, you know, it's not that's what I mean. It's like it's hard to say how bad it is with the tier 1 lower, because you get so much gold, right? 20 gold, you make so much interest, you're gonna be so much richer than the rest of your lobby, especially in a set where the gold generation is really important. I just don't think they're like A tier or S tier, just because of that downside. Especially if you're a beginner player, it could feel like a really big deficit. But if you're really comfortable with your gold, and this is actually going to put you in a good spot, that you have a huge amount of interest, it's really important, because the set's very expensive. You have to make it to level 8, make it to level 9 a lot of times, and play around those 5 costs, right? It's more of like a traditional quote-unquote style TFT set, where there's not like some broken low-cost unit that you're going to play around. A lot of the balance is put towards the 5 cost being these really powerful chase units, so a lot of it is getting there, and this is one of those augments that helps you to get there. So for consistency's sake and whatever, I'll put in B tier. I like it a little bit more. I think it's a little bit better because I like the early interest in the early gold, but I don't want to put it too high because, you know, I think that the downside could be a big downside. Arcane Victory, I put this in B tier. I think 8 seconds is a little bit too long. I think if this was 6 or 7 seconds, it would be... If it was 7 seconds, it would be pretty good. If it was 6 seconds, I think it would be broken. But basically, you get a stun. You stun your enemy team for 1.5 seconds, and it repeats after 20 seconds of combat. The second repeat 20 seconds, in late game fights, I feel like it's very non-impactful because the fights are usually over within 20 seconds. Usually fights at the end of the game last, like, you know, if you have a bunch of 5 costs and stuff, they're usually like only around like 15 to 20 seconds anyways. But the first stun being at 8 seconds, it's like a little bit slow for my liking, so I don't think it's broken. Usually a team-wide stun is pretty powerful, but for a gold augment, I think this one's kind of like, it's not like, I don't think it's bad. I think you can take it as a combat because a stun is just massive. You stun the whole board, you're just in a good spot, especially if they don't have stun immunity, like a CC immunity, like QSS or Titans. It can really shine. But overall, I think it's kind of mid. I don't think it's bad, but I think it's mid, so I put in B tier. Ascension, I don't like Ascension. I put this one in C tier. Now, there are spots where Ascension makes sense. Please do not look at this and say to yourself, oh, I'll never take Ascension because he said it's not as good as the average augment. The reason that this one's bad is because after 15 seconds of combat, you gain 60% damage amp. And what did I say before about Arcane Victory? I said a lot of times the fights are over in around 15 seconds anyways. The problem with Ascension is that unless you have a board that truly supports it, like a full vertical front line, like maybe you're playing like Scion Bruisers, for example, with the Bard reroll or something like that, then Ascension might make a little bit more sense because, you know, your fight's going to last really long because you have this impenetrable wall of units that's really hard to deal with. Or if you have like a lot of indexing into like, you know, 6 Juggernaut or 6 Warden, or sorry, 5 Warden, or like 6, I forget what the other one's called, Defender, right? If you have these like really tanky front lines that can support this, then you're going to be able to proc it, and then you get a lot of damage amp. 60% damage amp is insane. The problem is, even if you proc this, you still have to have a board that supports it well enough. If you proc it and your whole front line's dead and you just have like one unit in the back line, they won't be able to clutch up very easily. That's like the problem with it. It just takes too long. And the way you can look at it is you're playing down an augment for 15 seconds. That's the big downside, right? For 15 seconds, you effectively have no augment available. So for most boards, you are better off taking literally anything else, because for 15 seconds, you can have another augment that's make you powerful. Even if the augment just gives you 1% damage amp, it is better for that 15 seconds to have that 1% damage amp, because if the fight doesn't last 15 seconds, you might not even proc this effect, right? Like even this procs in 8 seconds. You know, it's stuff like that starts to matter. So it's very specific to having a board that can support it. If you don't have a board that can support it, usually it's better in like certain reroll lines, then it's absolutely just a grief a lot of the time. So that's why I put in C tier. Situational, of course. Aura farming, this one's hard for me to judge because this current meta is like really 5 cost oriented. Basically, the way I look at aura farming, I'm going to put in B tier, and I'll explain why. Now, I think a lot of you guys, it's a 5 cost for free. I think it's very easy that you can debate that it's A tier, and I think that's totally fine. But basically, there's a lot of 5 costs in the game that are really strong. There's some of them that are a little bit awkward, but a lot of them are extremely strong. If you hit one of the good ones with aura farming, you can basically just win yourself the game because you get a 2-star 5 cost champion for free. The problem with this is that you have to take it from certain spots. I think that you need to have a particularly strong opener in order to take this, because you're essentially going to be down a gold augment until 4-3. You're not making econ, you're not getting gold, you're not making interest, you're not getting any combat power, you have nothing until 4-3. And 4-3 is a while away, to the point where a lot of times when you get your 2-star 5 cost, you just lose one fight to a high roller who hit a 2-star 5 cost anyways, and you go bot 4. This is an augment that is more for consistency. Now, it's not bad because the 5 costs are very strong, right? But the problem is it's more of a consistent thing. You're basically being down an augment for majority of the game, which could, like, depending on how strong your board is and depending on how troll your lobby is, it might not even be that much of an impact. But for most lobbies, if people are playing aggressive, if people are playing properly, if people are making good decisions, then being down an augment up until 4-3 is you're gonna feel it. It's gonna be really impactful. And the way you can look at it in another way is that this just guarantees you a 2-star 5 cost, right? If you don't hit a good one, it's not even that good. And then the other thing is, if you take something like an econ augment, for example, which there are really powerful econ augments, you'll probably be able to make it to that 2-star 5 cost anyways, but you'll have like more econ to play around within your mid game that gives you like a little bit better of a head start in certain regards. That's the way I look at it. This is not like a high cap comp, it's more for consistency. It's more so like you look around and you say, this will basically cash me out a 2-star 5 cost, I can be really stable on level 8, and then I would want to play really aggressively and hopefully not be in too much of a deficit. Now, if you have a really strong opener, obviously the more the merrier. You get your 2-star 5 cost, you can win out with it, of course. But the way I look at it is that if I compare my board to somebody else's late game, and I have a 2-star 5 cost, and they have a 2-star 5 cost, but I had to sack my entire game to get it because of aura farming, then it's a little bit awkward, right? That's the way I look at it. I think it's average in that regard, in that some spots it's really good, and some spots I would definitely skip it and consider something else. These Yordle ones, I think they're all bad, personally. Yordle is basically like, it's kind of like built to be like a reroll trait, in that you just play all of the reroll units and you kind of put them all together. I don't think either of these are particularly crazy, because they don't give you that much gold, I find. Because of the amount of unlocks that there are. There are a good amount of unlocks so that you can use these as econ, but they don't give you that much econ for what they are. And there's like part of it that's like, you know, to hit 10 Yordle, which is really strong. Obviously, it's like a prismatic and you can win the game for free. The problem with the Yordles board is that if you're playing dedicated reroll Yordle, it's really weak right now. It gets outcapped very easily. You have to play it basically purely as tempo. It is very hard. Yordle is really common to use, kind of like Bilgewater as an econ trait. So you can play Yordle and then get 6 Yordle in. It gives you free rerolls. Then you get 8 Yordle in, you sack, you go 9, and then you sell all of the Yordle units. Right? That is a valid line currently in the set. But I don't think this helps with that, right? It does give you a little bit of gold and stuff, but it doesn't really, like, you wouldn't take this to play that to pivot off of the Yordle, right? It's like a little bit awkward. You could use them as econ and tempo for that reason, but I think it's situational when you would want to take these over something a little bit more generic or another combat. So I'll put in C tier. Next we have Best Friends. So Best Friends, I put in B tier. I talked about it with the silver augments. You get attack speed and armor. I look and I see if my lobby is predominantly armor, I think this is a little bit better. If it's not predominantly armor, then I like AD. What I mean is that armor is going to be good against my opponents. Then I think this is a skipper, right? Attack speed is really good. The positioning pairs isn't that much of a grief in terms of your positioning, but the 18 armor is really impactful so long as like your lobby is mostly AD, right? If I scout and I look at everybody, I'm like, that person's AD, that person's AD, that person's AD, that person's AD. Then it's like, okay, cool. Most of the lobby is AD. This will help me against most of the lobby. Therefore, I take it. That's what I mean. Situational. Average. A lot of times a skip, but sometimes good. Big grab bag. This is like the quintessential. That's a gold augment. 3 components and a reforger. Obviously, if you need a reforger, it's great. But obviously, 3 components. That's usually what I evaluate as a gold augment. A gold augment giving me 3 components. This is like the baseline. So when I compare augments, if something gives me more than 3, I think it's better. Something gives me less than 3, I think it's worse. So like in general, 3 components, 2 gold, and a reforger. That's the average gold augment. Birthday reunion. I think this one's broken. I'm gonna put in A tier for sure. So Birthday Reunion, it gives you a 2-star 2-cost champion, which usually can help you to be pretty strong in your early game. Then when you reach level 6, you get Thieves Gloves. I don't know if they changed it or if I'm misremembering, but in the beta, like in PB, I took this and it gave me a component at level 6. And now it gives you a Thieves Gloves. I think that's broken already. A 2-star 2-cost and a Thieves Gloves at level 6 is great, because on stage 2, you have a upgraded unit that you can play around that can often put you in a good spot on stage 2. Then on stage 3, you basically get a Thieves Gloves, which helps you, right? When I say level 6, you can be level 6 on stage 2, but normally you're going to be level 6 on stage 3. But it gives you a Thieves Gloves, which is a great power spike, because it gives you like a solid amount of items in your mid game to play around on any unit. And Thieves Gloves especially are really good in this set because it's a really nice way to itemize a 5-cost that you can hit later in the game. Because a lot of times, like, you know, you'll have a bunch of 5-costs, you'll have a really big board, and those items are really going to make those units sing. They're going to make them do wondrous things and do lots and lots of damage. The other part of this, which is the main part of it, we didn't even get to yet. When you reach level 9, you get a 2-star 5-cost, and the 5-costs are broken this set. It's just good. So this is like kind of like a thing where it's like you want to use this to try and tempo to level 9, and a lot of times I say, hey, if you have an augment that cashes out at level 9, it's a little bit awkward. You don't usually want to take that because you don't know if you're going to make it to level 9. The thing is, it gives you an opener. It gives you a 2-star 2-cost champion that you can play around your early game, and then it gives you a Thieves Gloves as well. Like, this augment is absolutely insane. I think it's so broken because, like, you easily can just play around your stage 2, stage 3, and then you're definitely making it to 9 because there's no shot you take that. Like, maybe there is, by the way, if you hit a bad unit or something and you get unlucky, but like, this is an augment that gives you a really good chance of win streaking or playing around stage 2 and stage 3, which is going to give you enough of an advantage either in HP or econ to guarantee the level 9, so you get the 2-star 5-cost and you get to play the game. It's like so good compared to a lot of the other ones. Like compared to aura farming that gives you absolutely nothing and you get a 2-star 5-cost at 4-3, I would take this like 10 out of 10 times over aura farming, because like you get a stage 2, you get a stage 3, and then you're gonna make it to level 9 on stage 4 anyways. You can just flash your way there and just get the 2-star 5-cost regardless. Like, I don't know. I think it's really good. So A tier. But I don't know if it's S tier broken, because there are a couple. We might move it up, but I'll leave it in A for now. Blood Offering. Gain a Bloodthirster. Combat start. Allies holding Bloodthirsters lose 20% health, but gain 30 health shield and 10 attack damage. I think it's situational. In some Slayer lines or some lines where you might be trying to unlock Aatrox, it can make sense. The thing is, it's like, it kind of just feels a little bit awkward, because a lot of those lines where you're playing melee carries, you don't want to have too many Bloodthirsters. And a lot of the times, like, of the melee carries, a lot of them don't even want Bloodthirster, if that makes sense. Like Bloodthirster is more of like a drain tanky kind of build. I know some people asked me what that means in previous videos, so I'll try and explain it. But it's like, usually Bloodthirster, it's more so like, because it gives you a giant health shield, you like try and use it to like absorb damage a lot, which makes it like nice. But like a lot of the melee units, they'd rather have like more damage, or even like think of like Bel'Veth. She doesn't even want Omnivamp because you just build her with pure damage because she's a 2-range unit. So it's like a little bit awkward, I think, could like find multiple Bloodthirster holders, so you don't get a lot of value off of it. But then, of course, you lose 20% health. That's fine, because Bloodthirster you heal back up. But the health shield and the attack damage is also a little bit good. Like, but it's not like crazy. So when I look at this augment, I think like, if I really need a Bloodthirster, I'll take it. If I don't need a Bloodthirster, there's no way it's like I'm taking it, if that makes sense. Bodyguard Training. Allies gain 10 armor and magic resist, increased by 3 per player level. I think this one's like okay. How much armor is it actually? 10 armor and magic resist, 3 per player level. So if you're level 9, it's another 27, right? So that it's a lot of value if you can make it to like level 8, level 9. If you're level 8, how much is it? It's like 34. We'll come back to it. I'm going to put it in B tier for now. We'll come back to it because I think there's another augment where we can compare the amount of armor that you get. And I think this will be a good option to compare with that one. But I think for right now, I think it's like, if I need armor on my team, it's not bad. I think it's definitely solid, because you're usually going to make it to level 8 at the minimum, and 34 armor on whole team sounds good enough, if that makes sense. Bringer of Ruin. I tried this. I think it's actually pretty solid. The Otacon kind of pops off a lot if you play this with Noxus, but it kind of like doesn't cap very high, because eventually just like gets deleted by the 5 costs. So I think this one's pretty good. I think the scaling is fine on it. I think if you play it with like reroll Draven and you play around like 7 Noxus, or if you have an emblem ideally and you can fit in 7 Noxus, the Otacon actually does do quite a bit. But either way, that's just my own personal opinion. I bought forward with it anyways because, like, you know, so I don't think it's that broken. But obviously, if you're playing around Noxus and you think you have a good spot for Noxus, you can try it out. But I don't think it's that crazy. Bronze for Life. So Bronze for Life, I'll put in A tier. There's a lot of boards that you fit in a lot of different synergies, so it makes a lot of sense. Bronze for Life in this set, I think this one got nerfed, by the way. I don't think it's 3%, I think it's 2.5, right, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, I think it's pretty solid. I think it's a decent combat. I think a lot of times you're trying to play around many of the smaller traits anyways. On certain boards, it obviously makes a lot of sense. We might move this down though, because I don't think it gives as much value as some of the other augments, which we'll talk about in a second. But I think it's still, of a combat, one of the better ones, because in this set, like I said, a lot of the optimal boards are ones that you're playing many different traits, many different synergies. So a lot of times, even if you're not trying to, you're going to proc this and get a good amount of damage amp for free on your entire board. And that's usually good. Team-wide buffs are also great, especially if you're playing around lots of 5 costs, which is what your end board should kind of look like this set. Calculate loss, I think this one's S tier. I think it's just so much value for what it is. 2 gold and a free shop reroll after losing combat, so basically you get 4 gold per loss. Actually, is it? How crazy is it? It's pretty good, right? Because 4 gold per loss and the rerolls as well. Like, econ augments are really powerful, so I definitely always put it up here. Now, let me count in my head. 2 free shop rerolls. Wasn't this more before? I'll put in A tier for now. We might move it back up to S tier. I think it's just one of the better econ augments. 4 gold per round is insane. That's like prismatic levels of econ. Like, definitely up there for sure. Care package. This is decent mixture of components and items. So if you're looking for components and gold. If you're looking for components and gold, care package is a great option, because basically you're going to get 3 care packages. A lot of times they have a little bit of gold and some loot, and that loot usually is like some components or maybe even a lesser duplicator. It's pretty good as just like a catch-all, like solid, like, hey, I'll just take this and see how it goes type of beat. It does take time. It gives you more loot than something like Big Grab Bag, obviously, but it takes time for it to cash out. So a lot of times you have to take this Arcanist from a little bit more of an HP advantage, just to make sure that you're actually getting your maximum care packages out before the game ends, basically. Celestial Blessing, I think this one's solid. I don't know how broken it is. This is usually broken when units can scale off HP, off Omnivamp. So, like, maybe with, like, Aatrox, for example, it's really good, because he, like, gets extra damage from the Omnivamp. But in general, obviously, if you're playing Omnivamp-style boards, or anything that wants Omnivamp, like melee units, Slayers, Warwick, things like that, or even 5-cost in general, it could be really good with, because obviously you have, like, the Tibbers, the Shyvanas, all of those things are in the front line. Gaining Omnivamp is great, and turning into a shield is pretty good, but like I said, it's more so like, do I need it or not? Because it doesn't necessarily, it makes your board more tanky, but it doesn't necessarily make them do more damage. So a lot of times it's like, you know, do I really need the extra Omnivamp? Because a lot of tanks, like, you know, tanks don't really need it because they're not doing damage. They're not going to make use of the Omnivamp. So that it's more towards, like, if I have damage dealers that are taking damage. Or if I'm at backline units that maybe I'm fighting, like, you know, like anti-fizz tech, for example, or like, you know, if my opponent has like backline access really easily, then I can use this to try and heal up my carries, right? It's like in those cases where it makes a little bit more sense. Chaos Magic, Arcanist gain 1 mana regen after 150 mana. A magical effect hits the board. I don't know about this one. I'm gonna put in B tier because 1 mana regen to me is pretty good. But I think in general, locking yourself to play Arcanist is really difficult because you basically have to make it to Annie a lot of the time. Like, the Arcanist boards that are strong are the Annie boards, because Annie is broken as shit, but she's a 5-cost. And then obviously you play around Silas if you can. I don't think this is going to be good if you're trying to play around like Demacia Lux. I don't think there's like level 8 Arcanist boards, because Arcanist is like all or nothing. You're either playing just a couple of them to get the splash in on your board, or you're playing like 6 Arcanists, which means that you have to make it to those high cap boards. So it's a little bit situational, but I'll put in B tier because I don't think it's like absolutely awful. Clear Mind, I'm gonna put in A tier. Econ is really important in this set. This gives 3 XP per round, really solid, so it's definitely gonna go up there. Cluttered Mind for the same reason. Now, normally I say that Cluttered Mind is better than Clear Mind. I usually make a distinction between them like this in some previous tier lists, but I think Econ is so important that if you see any of these, you pretty much have to highly consider them or click them, just because like making it to level 8 with enough gold to stabilize and eventually making it to level 9 is really important, or even making it to level 8 with enough gold to roll for all your units in order to stabilize and convert a top 4 is really important, because it's harder to get to level 8. They made it harder to get to that level by just adding like more XP requirement for it. But then at the same time, all of the 5-costs, that's like your high cap potential. So if you want to keep up with the lobby, usually it's going to be dictated by who's making it to 9 first, who's hitting those 5-costs first. And it might not be like, you know, it doesn't mean you have to fast 9 every game, but what I'm trying to say is that you want to keep up with that, right? You can roll to 0 on level 8 and take Clutter Mind, Clear Mind, and like stabilize on level 8, and that's totally valid. But, like, you know, you still want to be able to make it to level 8 with enough gold, because ideally you have a little bit of gold in the bank, don't have to roll to 0, and then you can start your journey towards level 9, so you can find those 5-costs to pivot into, like, a really high cap board. That's a really important thing on the set. So I'll put both of these up in A tier. Cooking Pot, I don't think there's any crazy use case for it, so I'm just going to put in B tier. You gain a Frying Pan, and then you can, like, you could juice up a unit to get extra HP. I think it's obviously going to be better in like Rise encounters and stuff. I don't know if they banned it from Rise encounters. I remember at one point there was some kind of talks like that. But if you have a bunch of emblems already, or if you have a Fawn already, like what's it called, a Tactician's Crown, then this would be a lot better, because all of those will apply the same feeding effect. Crash Test Dummies, I think this is solid if you just need some cheap, easy frontline. But basically these 2 training dummies, and they jump and stun. So you can easily just have 2 training dummies, just jump in, get targeted, give your comp a little bit of breathing room. If you have other target dummies as well, like, you know, let's say you took like Dumbify, for example, it will apply to all of the other target dummies that you have, which is pretty nice. Crown's Will, you get a rod, and you get AP and a little bit of armor. If you need a rod and you need ability power and armor, then it makes sense. It is just one component, but it does give a team-wide buff, which is pretty nice. The team-wide buff isn't nothing to sneer at either. 10 ability powered armor is decent if you need those stats. So I would look first if I need the stats, and then I would look also if I need the rod in particular. Crimea River, this one I think is better than Crown's Will. I don't know if I want to put in A tier. But you get a tier, then you get 1 mana regen on your whole team, and then after 10 seconds you get increased to 2 mana gen. I think it's a massive amount of mana gen, because 1 and 2 is pretty good, right? 10 seconds is a bit long for it to get increased to 2, so I don't think it's broken, so we're just going to put in B tier. But I do think this is quite good, and I think it can be generically pretty good, because 1 mana regen on your whole team, it makes your tanks cast faster, it makes your backline cast faster. Everybody will appreciate it, right? So it's just a generally good stat to have. Darkwill's Invasion. If you're playing Noxus, it makes sense. But basically, this trade is actually pretty cool. I don't know if it's broken, like A tier, but it is definitely better. Maybe we move some of these down. I think I need more breathing room, chat. Like, some of these are a little bit better than some of the other ones. So I think I'm gonna move stuff around a little bit. Like, I don't like separating the tier list too much, because I don't want people to, how do I phrase it? To, like, be in, like, such a bad, like, I don't know. I don't want people to get uppity about it, in terms of, like, how good or how bad certain augments are. But I think this one is, like, I think all the ones that are very trait specific are very situational, so I want to move them down. All the ones that are a little bit more, like, combat oriented, I think are fine. But where's this augment? The reason that this augment is good to me, Darkwill's Invasion, is because it's not your Noxus units gain damage amp. It's if the Noxus trait is active, you gain damage amp. It's very easy to activate Noxus. It's very easy to, like, just play 3 units that share synergies with the others to get the damage amp. And it's 15% on your entire board if the Noxus trait is active. It's actually quite massive in terms of how much value it gives to you. So you don't look at this and think of it as, oh, this is the Noxus hero trait, I'm going to play all the Noxus units. No. You just play, like, Mel and Swain, which you're probably going to play Swain anyways, and maybe you'll throw in a fucking Scion for Bruiser. And now your whole team gets 15% damage amp. It's insane. You need, like, 5 traits. I think you need even more. Bronze for Life, I'm pretty sure, got nerfed to 2.5. You need over 5 traits active in Bronze for Life just to get this thing to be equal. 15% damage amp is nothing to sneer at. It is actually quite massive. Now, there are better things than 15%, so it's not, like, going to be up here, but I want you guys to know it is quite a good option. Definitely, for sure. Deadlier Blades and Deadlier Caps, they're both work in a similar way. If you have a unit that can hold a Death Blade, you get stacking AD, which is really good, and Deadlier Caps gives you stacking AP with the Rabadons. These ones are pretty good. The Rabadons one, I've seen people use it to unlock Vigar, because you get the Rabadons and then you just have to make one more, and you could stack it and just set them up to be successful a little bit later. But in general, if you can stack these up early, they're both really good. I like Deadlier Blades a little bit more than Deadlier Caps, just because a Death Blade will scale your auto attacks as well as your ults on an AD unit, because, like, auto attacks scale with AD. Unless you have a unit that specifically scales their auto attacks with AP, like Kaisa, for example, then the Rabadon only scales the ult, so it feels a little bit, like, disjointed and how much value you get out of it. But either way, both are solid. B tier. Defense of the Placidium, this is the same as the Noxus one. If you have Ionia active, you get durability. This one is very strong. Like, you know, like, these ones both might be up here, by the way. I'm just putting them a little bit lower because I don't know how I'm gonna tier up my A section, but I'll put them at the top of B tier for now. Both of these are very, very good for what they are, even though they seem like a little bit of bait. 12 damage amp, 12 durability on your entire team is pretty big, and it's not hard to fit in 3 Ionia. It is not hard at all. Most boards, even if it's a final high cap 5 cost board, you can fit in a set. You could play a set, you get set for free. Set Wukong and a Bruiser, bang, Ionia, and you get durability on everybody. It's actually pretty substantial. Demacia Forever, I think this one's kind of broken. I remember seeing this. I'm going to put it in B tier. Even though it's trait specific, I don't think it's as situational as the other ones. I want to put it in this tier just because I think it's actually pretty solid, right? You gain 7 permanent health every time they rally. A lot of times you're playing your Demacias the whole game. If you're playing around it, this is one where you're kind of forced to play around 7 Demacia the whole game. But if you do that, you get Galio, so it actually caps pretty high and it does pretty well. And then the permanent attack damage and ability power makes them kind of hit like a truck. Even those low cost units, they're going to be pretty powerful by the end game, especially like Xinjiao, who actually does a decent amount of damage in his own right. And of course, if you hit those early Demacians, they can actually do pretty well. So I think it's actually solid. I don't know if it's the highest cap of augments, but it does work really well if you have a Demacia spot. Double Trouble, I think, is B tier. Excuse me. One of the main double trouble boards that you play is actually Targon, by the way. You can play double trouble, what's it called? These guys. Because they don't have traits anyways, so you get a lot of value for playing 2 copies of them, and 2 copies of Zoe does insane damage, 2 copies of Leona tanks really high. So a lot of times you play like Targon boards, or you play like this, and then Diana. You don't have to worry too much about playing for A Soul or anything like that, but you usually play reroll, and then you just unlock your Dianas, and you play a board like this, +1, right? Any other unit that you want. And it's really powerful. That's like the main double trouble thing. So if you have a spot for it, obviously you need to start the game off with some extra copies of units, because the whole point is you play 2 copies of the same unit. It's strong. So if you have 2 copies of the same unit in your stage 2, you can take it. You'll be pretty strong on stage 2, and then you can try and play towards Targon, and ideally you take this from a Targon kind of spot. Dual Q I think is pretty solid. 2 random 5 costs. The 5 costs are really strong, and some of them scale really well. So obviously this is a great option. And 2 copies of a component. This is kind of like a little bit of a bailout, though. You get it later in the game. Early learning. Your team gains 8. Let me read this. Your team gains 8% attack damage and ability power. This increases by 1% after each player combat. 1 cost champions gain double. I don't know how good this is. Personally, I don't like to take it that much. 1 cost champions gaining double is nice, but I don't think that there are really solid 1 cost rerolls in the set just based on the balance. So it feels a little bit weak, because each player combat, you can imagine on stage 4, you're going to be at like 18 attack damage and ability power, which isn't that bad. Stage 5, you get to around like 15 plus 8, like 20 attack damage and ability power, right? It's like, it's okay, but it's really good if it's 1 cost. So like, I'll put it here because the stats are like decent, but it's like, it's not that great. You know what I mean? It's like, because attack damage and ability power also, like, a lot of units will only really care about 1 of them. So you need to also play this a little bit with a specific comp where the units have good scaling on both, right? There's some units that do have good scaling on both. I think like maybe like a Demacia board, this makes a lot of sense because they gain so much armor from their base kits and stuff that something like this might help out. And like, I know Vayne scales off both attack damage and ability power really well. The stats seem okay. It just like, it feels like it's a little bit slow. I don't want to put it here, so I'm just gonna put it here because I think it's okay in certain spots. Epic Rolldown, level 8, you get 23 shop rerolls. Now 23 shop rerolls is a lot. I think this augment is really strong, in the sense that if you make it to level 8, you get basically 40 gold worth of gold augment, right? The problem is it doesn't help you to get interest, right? So that 40 gold that you have to roll down, I find that whenever I take this, like, I don't know if it's A tier or not, by the way. I don't know if it's like here. It's just that, like, compared to the other econ augments, I'd rather just get the econ early. Because, like, the problem is that by the time if I don't have an econ augment, I take this. It's like, how do I phrase it? This is like a fake econ augment. It sounds better than it is, but it actually is a little bit situational. This augment is broken if you have a lot of gold. That's the reason why I don't think it's A tier. Let me explain. To get to level 8, it takes a huge amount of gold. It takes like 60 gold to get to level 8. So you can't take this augment and expect it to act like an econ augment, because if you take this and you don't take any other econ augments, then by the time you make it to level 8, even with 23 shop rerolls, you won't even have enough gold to buy the units that you're looking for. That's the big issue with it. So where is this augment really good? Scuttle Puddle, right? Something like Scuttle Puddle, you don't want to take an econ augment because you get so much gold anyways that it feels like a little bit of a waste. You'd rather take combat, you'd rather take something else. If you already have a lot of gold in something like Scuttle Puddle, then this makes a lot of sense, because then you make it to level 8 and you can keep making interest and use your shop rerolls to roll on level 8, and while you can do that, you can buy your units and you'll still keep interest and then go to level 9. And with 23 shop rerolls, a lot of times you can stabilize on level 8 and still have some shop rerolls to go to level 9, and you can even fast 9 off of it. So the problem is it doesn't stand on its own, because like if I give you an augment that just gives you a bunch of gold, for example, if I have an augment, for example, it's like gain 20 gold, then the 20 gold is way better because you're going to be able to make interest off of it, and then you can level to 8 and use the gold to roll anyways. But like getting to level 8 is part of the problem in the first place, and I think that's the big problem with this. Sometimes like you might take this augment and you might not even be able to 4-2 level 8 because you don't even have enough gold to get there in the first place. That's like the big problem with it, and because of that, that's why I put it a little bit lower. Also, if you take augments that just give you upfront gold, like there is a difference between, like, you know, obviously rerolls versus gold, they're like the same thing. It's how you spend your gold, whatever. But if you get something that gives you XP or gives you actual gold, it's easier to play around because if you get XP, you're higher level, you get access to earlier shops that are better. You can maybe high roll a unit like a 5 cost or a 4 cost on a lighter level because you're a higher level. Additionally, if you have a lot of gold, you can use that to push levels. You can make decisions. If you have to roll, you can roll. This is essentially like, hey, you get no augment until you make it to level 8. Good luck. So it's like the times you take it is when you know for sure you can make it to level 8 with enough gold to actually buy the units. Then it's really good. Epoch, I think this one fucking sucks, man. But like, I don't know where to put it. 8 XP and 3 free shop rerolls. It's like it's an econ augment, but I think of the econ augments, one of the weaker ones. I don't think it gives enough value for what it is. But obviously, if you need econ, you gotta take it because that's just how the set is. Evolve and overcome. For every 5 enemies and mutated void allies take down, gain 2 XP. This one I think is B tier. Even though this is a trait specific one, there is a win condition with void. Now void is very good early game because you get the void upgrades and makes your units pretty strong, and a lot of times you can actually steamroll with void. This augment, I think this augment might be here, by the way. I don't know how broken it is, but allow me to explain. I'm not going to put in A tier because I don't think it's that good. I think you still have to have a specific spot for it, but it gives you a Cho'Gath and a 2-star Kog'Maw. The reason that's really good is because of Baron Nashor's, not Baron Nashor, Baron Nashor 1 playing, but Rift Herald. Rift Herald unlocks himself after 8-player combats, which will unlock in the middle of stage 3 if you take that augment on stage 2. So if you take it on stage 2, you unlock Rift Herald in the middle of stage 3 because you have to have Void active for 8-player combats. This is really powerful, and it's part of the reason why Void is a great tempo line. Void is amazing to just like get a top 4 and get out, right? You could treat it almost like the way rerolls kind of work. You just play around Void early game, you get Rift Herald, so you're strong early game ideally if you have upgraded units, and this gives you a Kog'Maw 2-star, so it gives you an upgraded unit in addition to the Cho'Gath. Then you just play around your Void. Obviously if you have good Void, like either the items or the Void mutations, like ones that work with Kog'Maw, it makes a lot of sense as well. But when you get there, you also get Rift Herald. So then in stage 3, when you might be like a little bit weaker, you get this huge power spike because his Rift Herald is really hard to deal with. He's really tanky. He's not level locked, so you get him early, which is great. The other thing that makes this augment really good is that if you're getting takedowns, right, every 5 enemy takedowns, you gain XP. So if you're winning your rounds, this XP can actually work towards the other win condition for the Void units, which is getting Baron Nashor, which is like level 10. Now, I don't think it's super broken because it's 5 takedowns. So it's not as good as like some of the other econ generation augments, right? For every 5 enemies, that means you're basically like completely railing everybody and win streaking, which means you have to have really good items and a really good spot for it. But if you have really good items and a really good spot for it, and you basically get this 2x per every single round, then you could basically guarantee yourself a Baron Nashor because this is basically slamming, but instead of giving you a single component, it gives you a Cho'Gath and a Kog'Maw, which also gives you a Rift Herald on stage 4. Which is a 4-cost bruiser that is fucking impossible to kill for most people on stage 3. You know what I mean? Like, in those regards, it's really good for tempo. But like I said, you have to have a really good spot for it, because if you take this and you don't kill anybody because your board sucks and you have no Kog'Maw items, like, you're boned. You know what I mean? Like you're screwed. So if you have the spot for it, I do think it's quite good for like a trait specific augment, because it does have a win condition associated with it. And even if it's not a win condition, you can take this and have like a pretty reliable top 4, because I think Void is good at just farming top 4s. You just play some sort of Kaisa flex board, you'll beat everybody on stage 4, or you'll be a lot of people that are greeting to go 9, and then when they go 9, they'll outcap you because Void's hard to pivot out of. Like, you know, Void's hard to pivot into the 5 cost because it doesn't synergize well with them. So it's a little bit awkward to cap your board in that sense, but a lot of times you'll be fine. So that's what I mean. This is like a solid, like, just take it and get out type of game. Exclusive customization. If you need econ, it's actually pretty good. 10 gold is a lot of gold, and a lucky item chest gives you a tailored item to the unit that you use it on. So it's not as powerful for a gold augment, like it's not broken, but the 10 gold helps to compensate, right? Usually for a gold augment, I want 3 components. Here it only gives me 2 components, but it's fine because the 10 gold helps to compensate for it, so I consider it still be average augment. Exiles, I think, is broken, S tier. You get a 35% max health shield for 10 seconds. That's insane. 10 seconds is pretty much the entire duration that you need for the health shield. Very rarely is going to expire. That's what 10 seconds means. 10 seconds means that, like, you know, not rarely going to expire. It means like you're getting a lot of value out of the health shield. So for like 10 seconds, you have 35% max health. If you apply Exiles to your entire board, even the shittiest 1-cost unit usually has close to 1,000 health if they're a frontline unit. You're getting a 350 health shield on a unit, 350 bonus HP, and that's like a shitty unit. Think about like a Braum. A Braum has like 3,000 health normally. Like if you have a Braum 2. He gets like a 900, he gets 1,000 HP shield. Like what are we talking about here? He can absorb 1,000 damage without even, with just one augment, he just absorbs 1,000 damage. Like, this is some Keepers level of bullshit, but it's even better than Keepers. Like, I remember I always rank Keepers really high because it can give you, like, all these crazy health shields. I'm pretty sure in the average case, this gives you more value than Keepers, and Keepers was broken in the other sets. But the thing that's great about it is that it doesn't really grief your positioning that much. Right? Like you're still able to position your units in the front line and your units reliably in the back line. Like, obviously, you have infinite units. You have to kind of do, like, this whole zigzaggy pattern, which is, like, a little bit awkward. But, like, it's not even that bad because it's, like, these types of positionings are usually a horrible situation if it forces your corners to be out of the corner and it forces your tanks to kind of put you in, like, a wrap position, right? Like, something like Keepers, where you have to position everybody really close together, was awkward because, like, you're clumped up and there's a lot of boards that, like, you know, it's hard to move your units, right? Like, if I have to pivot to one side, you know, it's really hard to do that, so it's kind of like really difficult, right? And those were augments that were broken. The thing with Exiles, it's not that big of an issue to, like, just keep your units here and you can still move them around, right? Like, once you have your setup positioning, you can switch where your carry is from side to side, right? Or even middle, and you can switch your tanks. And, like, with this type of positioning, right, you're not solo frontline, like, or you don't have to solo frontline. So a lot of times the aggro will be split on 2 of your tanks, and these other melee units will just walk up anyways, and your board will be fine, right? And this is just in a max case scenario. A lot of times you have less units on your board. It doesn't grief your positioning for what it is. So to me, there's no downside, right? It's very rare, if ever, that I see this as a downside. And 35% max health shield, 10 seconds, like, I guarantee you this will get nerfed in the future. Like, we will do another tier list, like, halfway through the set, by the way, like, in a month. We'll probably do one every month, because, like, the set is around 3 or 4 months. We might do one every month or so. I guarantee you in a month from now, we're going to be looking at this, and it's going to be nerfed. There's no chance this is staying the way it is. Like, it's crazy. It's so good. Like, I don't know how it cannot be S tier. Like, or maybe I'm just stupid, by the way, but who knows, right? I'm down to be stupid as well. But I think that's, like, to me, if you need combat, this is always like an instant click. I don't see any board that wouldn't want that. Explosive growth. A lot of these ones are actually decent. I'm going to put them both in A tier just because so much of the game revolves around getting to level 8, getting to level 9, that these ones actually, like, you know, they're a little bit slow and they could have a little bit of a downside, but I feel like most often they're really reliable, especially Explosive Growth Plus. It's just 40 XP, which is around 40 gold. It really helps you to make it to those level 9 situations, which I think is a really important aspect of the current patch. Feed the Flame, Sunfire Cape, and you get Omnivamp with burning enemies. I've seen this synergize also with, like, Annie and stuff like that, where she, like, applies it to whole board. But in general, if you need anti-heal, you get anti-heal. Flexible. Is this in the game, by the way? I haven't seen this. I don't know if this is, like, real or not. Random emblem, and then every stage you get an emblem. Like, it used to be prismatic. I don't know if it's supposed to be here. I'll put in B tier. I don't know how broken it is. Because emblems are a little bit weird to play around. But I definitely think it's really good. It might even be A tier. But I'm actually not sure if it's in the game right now. This might be better. But we'll put in B tier for now. Forward thinking is a lot of gold. I think it's really solid. Obviously, when you take forward thinking, it's a little bit risky. Because, like, obviously, like, you're losing all of your gold. So you basically lose the ability to play around your board or your mid game. You can't use gold to level. But the 70 gold that it gives you is so massive. And especially being able to make it to level 8 and have a good amount of gold to roll on level 8 and then save up to go to level 9. I think forward thinking is very good. I don't think it's like an instant click, but it's going to be good in most cases if you need econ. It's one of the better econ augments. Of course, like I said, there are situations where you don't want to take it. Like if you're like 40 HP, don't take forward thinking because you're going to be dead, right? Stuff like that. But it's not too much of a downside. And especially if you have a decent board already, like you have some upgrades that you're playing around, it could be a very powerful econ tool. Okay, just check how much more we have with things. Gain gold. Oh yeah, get 21 gold. This one's broken. This one looks like a meme. 21 gold is a lot, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. get 21 gold, no strings attached. That's like 2 whole stages of slamming, and slamming is broken. Like, do you guys get what I'm trying to say? Like, you can't skip this one. Like, I know it's like a meme, but like when I look at this, I think it's like almost S tier. But I don't know if, am I just fucking dumb with the math and stuff? Like, I don't even know. Like, gain 21 gold, like obviously calculated loss, you get 4 gold per round. So this is 5 turns, you get as much value as this one. But 21 gold off rip, that's like 2 whole turns of interest. Like, you could just use, like, it's just so much. It's so much. Also, I think calculated loss should be up here. I'm just gonna make that judgment call. But it's so much gold, right? 21 gold, explosive growth is the same amount of gold, except this is XP over 3 rounds. This is instantly, so you can make interest. Like, I don't know how to put into perspective. It feels so strong. Like, I feel like they can nerf this to like 18. Actually, if they make it 18, it probably won't be good anymore. I don't know. I think it's really good. It looks like a meme, but I actually think it's like it's like borderline broken in my head. Like, when I look at it and I think about it, it's like, but I might just be, maybe I'm over exaggerating, but it's definitely A tier. It's definitely like a good econ augment. Cause like even fucking raining gold, it takes many turns to cash out the same amount. Glass Cannon, really good amount of damage amp, but situational, your board has to have backline units that also could take that little bit of an HP hit. It could really grief your positioning if you try and put melee units in the backline and stuff like that, but 30% damage amp is really good. If this had no things and it was just numbers and it wasn't positioning dependent, then it would be A tier for sure, or even S tier, but because of the positioning, it could be a little bit awkward in some boards, so it actually works out like, you know, you have to be careful, right? Some of these other ones like Bronze for Life and things, they also apply to every unit on your board. This is only the backliners, which makes sense, you know. Like, you know, you might argue that like, okay, well, that's fine because like my backliners are doing the most damage anyway, so who cares? But I don't think it's broken. I think that there are parts where you don't take this, so I don't want to put in the same tier as these ones, if that makes sense. I might also move Bronze for Life down, by the way, but we'll see. But I think it's like maybe like here. Gold Destiny, I think some of these can grief with some of the gold ones. I used to think they're really broken. I normally take these a lot if I don't have a good option for something else. But I think they drop the amount of gold that you get off of them by so much that I don't think they're as reliable, and the gold ones are a little bit risky, so I'll put them in B tier. Golemify, if you are very rich, it makes sense because basically it sells your entire, you lose all of your board and your bench. If you have bruisers, it makes a really big impact because your golem's going to gain their combined health and attack damage and whatever. So with bruisers that have a lot of HP, you can make a really big golem. The problem is because you get rid of your entire board and your bench, it costs a lot of gold in order to take this augment. So you usually want to take this in heavy econ where you can compensate for that by having the gold by other means. Because, you know, usually if you're buying units and you're putting them on your bench on your board, those are either going to make it onto your final board or you're going to sell them later to get that gold back. So if you can't do that anymore because Golemify eats them all, then you're at a huge econ deficit. You're basically minus the total amount of econ that you have on your board and your bench, which is really bad, especially in a set where econ is really important. So always be careful about it. Obviously, if you have the spot for it where you can compensate for the econ and still be able to roll and make it to your final board, then this is broken. You just have like a Giga Golem that's unkillable. Hard Bargain, I actually like quite a bit. I think this is really great for fast 9ing and making it to level 9. You gain 6 player health and 10 gold, but you can't pick your carousel rewards. I think that's not that bad of a deficit because if you're committed towards a fast 9 anyways, your items don't matter as much. Like, they still matter quite a bit, but basically, how do I put this? You can't take your units on carousel, which is fine. I don't think it's that much of a deficit. I think the HP and the gold that you get for this is enough that you actually can do really great things. I actually think it's one of the better econ options, and I actually do think that it's quite good. Because, like, in a fast 9 meta, having the HP and the gold is what you want most. And the HP that you recover is quite a bit. Because, like, from stage 2 to stage 3, and then even stage 4, you basically recover, like, a whole life, right? You recover 18 HP. That can be almost 2 lives, depending on how your game is going. Now, obviously, with Hard Bargain, it's way better if you're already in a strong spot. Because let's say you're win streaking on stage 2, or let's say you have a really strong board on stage 2. Then you're not going to pick your carousel anyways because your last pick on carousel. Right, you don't want to take this usually with like a lose streak, I would say. Like, obviously it recovers player health, so you can take it with a lose streak. Like, it might be good like Ixtal lines or like Bard lines for that reason. Like, you know, if you're trying to lose a bunch and then like cash out later. It's still good there, but this really shines if you have a strong spot. If you have a strong opener and you're like, yep, I'm going to win a couple rounds or most of stage 2 because I have a bunch of upgrades and I have a slammable item, you take this. Because now you're going to gain extra health. They change it so it recovers additional to 100. So it's not like you lose the value even if you're at 100 HP. And you get gold as well. You're in like an insane spot. Because you weren't going to pick your items anyways on the carousel. That's the glory of it. And then you're just in such an insane spot to Fast 9. I think for specifically this patch, like this early set 16 meta, it's just good. I don't know what to say. I think there's lots of use cases where you definitely want to take this. And I think even though it seems like a really, really scary downside, it's not even that bad. Because like depending on what items you have, like you could get screwed over a little bit with items, but you can still have a really good chance of like making it to level 9 and having a good time. Bro, we gotta pick up the pace a little bit. Healing orbs. Here, I put in B tier. It heals, but I think anti-heal applies. I don't find it as good as a combat as some of the other ones. A little bit more of a meme. Honestly, it might even be here, by the way. I think it's too situational, and I think it's a little bit weaker than some of the other options. Heart of Steel. This basically makes like a Giga Tank, right? Every 10 seconds, they gain permanent max health. In certain reroll lines, it can be really strong, but reroll lines aren't particularly common. But it does give you an item to start, so, you know, it could work out in certain situations. Heavy as the Crown, I don't like it that much this set. I don't think there's a good Heavy as the Crown holder. And I think there's a lot of backline access this set. Especially with a lot of the 5 costs. They just have like AoE or backline hitting moves. So I think this is a little bit of a grief. Even though the Crown gives a lot of stats, there's not really... Like, this is way better in like reroll lines. And there's not really reroll lines that really like it that much. Because of how much backline access there is, you could opt to just grief yourself pretty easily with it. So I'm a big fan of it, but I think it's a lot more situational than it looks like. Hefty Rolls. This one could make you hit critical mass. This one's really broken with like Bard and some other reroll lines because free rolls count for it, right? Every time you roll, your team gains HP. So like Bard Ixtal lines, this is like absurdly broken, but obviously it's like a reroll oriented thing, so you need to have like a reroll board to really support it. Heroic Grab Bag. I like all of these, by the way. I'm gonna put them actually in A tier. I think that with Heroic Grab Bag, like even though it's not reroll, I love them for tempo. I actually think it's really good. So basically you take 2 lesser duplicators, you duplicate a 3 cost, and you have a really, really strong opener. And you also get to make interest. In a meta where you're trying to play around level 8, level 9, having a good opener means everything. If you have a good opener this set, that's like a 10 out of 10 spot. That's like the best thing you can ask for yourself is a really good opener such that you can make it to high cap boards. This just gives you an opener. Right, you find like obviously you need to have like a good unit to duplicate, but if you have a 3 cost, like even a Targon unit, a Draven that generates you gold, a Gangplank, this, like any of the frontliners, like anybody really, like you just double dupe them, and all of a sudden you have an insane opener. But then in addition to the opener, they did nerf it a bit, so it's not as broken. It gives you gold, so you can make early interest as well. So now you have more HP than the lobby, and you're richer than the lobby. You're the one in control. You're the one that's going to be at level 9 first, and you're the one that's going to have the stronger board. Because you're going to hit there, you're going to buy everything before everybody gets there. What more can you ask for? Now, obviously, when people look at the duplicators, they think of it as a reroll thing. I'm saying that it's A tier, not because of the, like, reroll, sure, you can take it if you're rerolling something and use it for reroll lines. But, like, I think these early ones, maybe the last one I'll move down, plus. Heroic Grab Bag plus I'll put over here. But these early ones just put you in such an insane spot. You just take it, you dupe your units, either stage 2 or stage 3. You win out for that stage, and then you're just in a good spot because you have a lot of gold and you have a lot of HP. Hexgate Travel. I think this one's like specific that you have to play Piltover, so it's a little bit awkward. You get random Piltover champions, which is nice. Like this is good for unlocking the T-Hex, but it's like a little bit awkward because I think playing around vertical Piltover is a little bit bad. It's kind of like Bringer of Ruin, where I can see the vision where this is good, but I don't think it warrants, because you still have to find a Seraphine eventually, right? Unless you're going for 3-star Vi, 3-star other dude, like it's a little bit awkward, and I don't think that you can easily unlock the T-Hex with this for that reason. And I don't think rolling for the Piltovers is strong enough to make your board good, if that makes sense. It is a decent amount of econ, but like the random number, you can get griefed a lot. That's the problem. High voltage, if you need a spark, sure. It gives you a spark. Hustler, I think, is broken now. They changed Hustler, by the way. Hustler used to be you no longer gained interest and you got 3 gold per round. Now you get 2 gold and 2 XP, so it gives you 4 gold per round. Now you can't make interest anymore, which is a huge downside because it can hurt your max cap, because the interest and managing your interest is how you generate a lot of gold in the game. Now instead you're getting 4 gold per round. Now 4 gold per round on average is going to be as much as you would make with interest anyways, so it's good enough. So I think Hustler is at a point now where it's like borderline broken. If you want to compare it to something, you get 2 gold and 2 XP. There was the old version of the Prismatic going long used to give you 4 XP per round. So Hustler now is the equivalent of what a Prismatic was in previous sets. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very obviously good. And I think generically, you just always click it if you see it and you need Econ. Obviously, if you don't need Econ, you can click something else. But as an Econ augment, it is good enough that you pretty much always take it. Now, you might look at it and say to yourself, well, I like playing around interest. It feels weird. It's like, yes, you're playing the game a little bit less conventionally, but without having to worry about interest, you can push levels. You can get easier crack at level 8 as well, and level 7, where you can see like some of the more expensive units earlier than everybody else, which is nice. Obviously, the interest is going to hurt your max cap because somebody who has a good spot with a lot of interest is going to be able to have more spending cash because they're making on average more than 4 gold per round. So obviously that makes sense as well there. So it's not necessarily the highest cap craziest thing, but it's definitely good for consistency. Indecision, I think these are all really good if you have the option. I'm going to put them in A tier. So basically this is like, let me make the decision later. Right, in 3 rounds you get to pick another gold augment. So if you don't see a gold augment that you like, this is gain 8 gold, which is fine, right? And Indecision 2 is gain 12 gold, right? You just get a bunch of gold, which is great. And then for making interest and stuff, it's like as good. It's kind of like a budget econ augment, so it's not that great. But like if you can afford to like postpone your decision making, this basically gives you another crack at an augment selection. So especially if you don't see something, this is like the Giga bailout of Doom. You know what I mean? It's crazy good. But the interest that it gives you and the gold that it gives you is what makes it really nice as well. It's like a better version, in my opinion, of Gold Destiny, right? Because when Gold Destiny used to give a huge amount of gold, it was like an instant click. You would just go for it all the time. Having the gold to play around, really, really important and really, really powerful. So if you can afford to take these, like similar to like forward thinking, because you're going to be down a gold augment for a couple rounds, if you can do that, then they're definitely good decisions. Indiscriminate Killer, gain a Giant Slayer, and it also does damage amp to non-tanks. I think it's really solid. If you need the item, it's great. If you already have a Giant Slayer, you have multiple, powers them all up, which is great. Infinity Protection, gain... this one I put in B tier, but I think it's really strong if you can afford to take it. Gain 8 gold, 3/7, gain an Infinity Force. Now basically, the 8 gold is great to make interest. 3/7, a little bit late, but you get an Infinity Force. And then all of the allies in the same row get a health shield. So it provides a little bit of combat, gives you an Ornn artifact, which maybe isn't the highest cap one, but does allow you to put an item on a unit, which is really nice. And it gives you some gold early. The only reason I don't think it's A tier is just because the time that you have to wait to get the Infinity Force feels a little bit bad, and the 8 gold, while it is really great, it is a long wait, right? It's 3/7, so 8 gold and having to wait like the entire, because this is offered on stage 2, having to wait like almost the entirety of the game before stage 4, it feels a little bit awkward. And the 8 gold I don't think is enough to make it like crazy good that I'm clicking this more often than average. Ixtal Expeditionist, Gina, Kiana, Nico, and Milio increases your current and max player health by 10. I think this one's actually really good. I'm going to put it in B tier. I don't think it's A tier because it does depend on your spot a little bit. But of the like trait specific augments, this one's just a click because you get Ixtal in for free. So you can start doing your missions. And Ixtal does have its win condition, right? If you hit your Brock and everything, it's one of the strongest comps in the game. So you can take this, roll for Bard, play Ixtal reroll with Nico, Milio, and Bard. Obviously, you need good items for those units. That's the main thing. So that's why I say it's not A tier, it's not S tier. If you have good items for it, you just click this thing. It also gives you 10 player health, which is like 1 extra life. Not that it matters too much, but I think it's really solid because it gives you 3 units, right? A lot of these other ones, they don't give you 3 units. They give you only 2 units, right? Look at the Void one. It gives you only 2 units. 3 units, it's actually a decent amount of gold worth of units as well, right? You get 6 gold worth of units, right? It's not even that bad. So, but in general, it's because of how strong Ixtal is and how there is an Ixtal reroll line, and being able to start the game off with Ixtal on 2-1 and just starting those quests gives you a really high chance of making it to those win out situations where you get those really big cash outs that actually allow you to convert to a win. Jewel Lotus, I think, is really solid. I actually like this a lot. I put an A tier. I find myself clicking this almost always. Not almost always, but I clicked it a lot. So, you know, you can put it over here, like, if you need crit or not. But I think this is just a great way to scale your damage on your board in a very easy way. Because it gives 20% crit chance, which is really nice. Kahuna. This one you need to play around auto attackers. It's basically like Kahuna Huna, the fruit from set 15. Every 5th attack does extra bonus basic attack damage. Know Your Enemy is broken. I think Know Your Enemy is actually S tier. I'll tell you why. I think, now, I might be wrong with this. If I'm wrong with this, I don't think it's that big of an issue, but I think it also works with the specific augments, right? Like Targon or, like, I think it works with, like, these augments, right? Like Emperor. I think it also works with those, but I might be sorry, these traits, but I might be wrong. It might not work with those. I don't remember, but I remember it working with them at one point, and I don't know if they fixed it or not on live. But either way, because it works with those, if it works with those, it's like Giga Broke. It's even more S tier, right? Because everybody's playing the same 5 cost, so that you always proc it. But either way, 18 damage amp is a lot of damage amp. The base is 10, right? Compared to Bronze for Life, right? Bronze for Life, you have to have what is it, 6 traits active for this to be as good as Know Your Enemy if you get the 18. And I think Bronze for Life got nerfed, so you actually need more than that. I think you need like 7 or 8 for it to be as good as Know Your Enemy. Know Your Enemy is insane because, like, you're always activating a lot of traits. You're pretty much going to activate almost all of the frontline traits on a lot of your final boards, like Juggernaut, Bruiser, those type of things. It's very easy to get that 18% damage amp for that reason, because there's not a lot of boards that are playing like in their highest cap. There's not a lot of boards that are playing like 100 different excuse me, there's not a lot of boards in their highest cap that are playing just one trait, because verticals are not particularly strong in this set. So because most boards are playing multiple traits, it is very likely that you're going to be able to proc Know Your Enemy no matter what on your opponents, which is really great. The other thing that makes this really broken is that already in terms of damage amp on whole board, it clears everything else, because 18%, it's better than most things. Bronze for Life, you need a lot of traits to get it to 18%. All of these other ones, right? We talked about the Noxus one, the other ones, it's like 15. It's lower. They're all lower. The only one that's higher is Glass Cannon, that only works on backline units, and it's a little bit situational, and it has a downside of the HP. This one also has the ability to see who you're gonna fight. Seeing who you're going to fight is insane, because number one, you can actually put in the trait if you need to put in a trait. I've done this before, right? Sometimes, like, you know, I'll swap out like one of my 5 costs for another 5 cost. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, is it better to play Fiddlesticks here, or is it better to play Shyvana? And it's like, you look at your opponent's board and you're like, oh, well, I'll play the one that I need to play, right? But either way, seeing your opponent allows you to position. It allows you to properly gauge like how you're going to move your units, and you can actually win a lot of fights just based on knowing exactly who you're going to position against. That is a huge advantage that on its own would make any augment really good. But then you pair that with an augment that gives you more damage amp than most of the other gold augments. It's like, what are we talking about here? Like, I think it's absolutely one of the best augments in the game. Absolutely, like, easily. Last second save, I think this is a really strong combat as well. A tier. I think that each time ally falls below 35 health for 20% maximum health, really great. It's basically like 20% extra health on everybody. It's not as broken as Exiles, which is 35% max health on everybody, but it's something that just applies on everybody pretty easily, so it doesn't expire. So this can also save your backline, because the Exiles will expire on your backline a lot of the time. This one will make it pretty nice to clutch in like a 1v1, like, you know, you have your backline carry attacking another backline carry, and then it restores some health. Late game scaling, I think this is broken. I'm going to put in A tier. All your 5 costs gain health and attack speed, and it gives you 2 XP per round. The way you can look at this, it's like slamming, but it powers up all your 5 costs if you make it to 9. This is an amazing fast 9 augment. 2 XP per turn, 2 gold per turn, nothing bad to sneer at, and unconditional, so it's really great. Legion of Threes, gain a random emblem in your 3-cost champions, gain extra stats. I think this one's a little bit awkward. It's really good with like some 3-cost lines, or if you have a lot of emblems. So it's a little bit situational, so you have to have a board that kind of fits that, because it's buffing either emblem holders or 3-cost units. Lifting competition, this one's related to bruisers. I don't know if these rewards are particularly great. I put in C tier. I find that it's hard to cash out. Like, I saw it once and the person didn't have an easy time with it. So I think it's a little bit more situational, kind of like some of these other trait specific ones. Little Buddies, I think, is really solid, but you have to have a board that usually balances around 1 cost, 2 costs, as well as the 5 costs. Mace's Will, I really like Mace's Will, but I'm going to put in B tier because usually it builds towards like crits. You always want to have like a crit kind of build going over here, but it is pretty powerful because it gives you the attack speed and the crit chance, which scales really well with like the whole crit glove builds, right? It makes it really consistent. Makeshift Armor, I think, is broken. We're putting that in S tier. 45 armor and magic resist to your whole team. Now, it's allies without items, so you can't put on your main tank or your main carry. But for most of the game, you're going to be having most of your items on one unit or another. So you're getting a lot of value off of this. Very strong early game, very strong mid game, and obviously even late game, all those extra units you have on your board, if they don't have items, this is a great way to itemize them. The only times I would say Makeshift Armor is maybe a little bit worse is in like something like Scuttle Puddle, where you know that you're going to have infinite items on everybody, and then it might be a little bit awkward. Like, let's say you took like a TG Augment, and you have like TGs on everybody. Then obviously you're getting a lot less value off of it, but all the other cases, I think this is insane. 45 armor is so much armor. It's so much. It's actually just so much. It's so much. Like, compared to Bodyguard. Bodyguard, if you're level 9, you get like 37. This is 45. Like, huh? Like, but obviously your main tank doesn't benefit from it, so it could be a little bit awkward. Militia monetization, I think this one's situational. But if you send it on 8 and you're really strong and other people are sacking, this is really good. So I'll put in B tier. Max Build, you get a duplicator and 7 shop rerolls. I think this is pretty solid. I like it a lot. I put in A tier. A champion duplicator you can treat like a good amount of econ. Now, it's not the highest cap thing in the game, obviously. Like, it's not a combat, but if you're looking for econ, this is a great bailout because you don't have to greed your duplicators for like other units. But a lot of times, if you find 1 or 2 copies of a 5 cost, you can use it on them. If you find your 4 cost, you can use it on them. And the whole point is that it allows you to stabilize a little bit earlier, and you get the 7 rerolls, which is nice, 14 gold, and the duplicator. So you just use your rerolls, you duplicate, and you're trying to use it to fast 9. And then when you have to cap out your board on 6-1, you can use it to upgrade the last 5 costs that you see, basically. Right? Or the last 5 cards you don't have upgraded in order to cap out higher than your opponents. That's kind of the idea that I have behind it. I think it's really good for that reason. Mess Hall, I think, is pretty solid, but you have to have a team that supports it because it does take some time to proc. I put in B tier. But now that this used to be a really shitty prismatic, but now it's like a really decent gold augment. No Scout, no Pivot, I don't think is that great. I'm going to put in C tier. I don't know if they reduced the stats. I think they reduced the stats a little bit from the last time we saw it. But in general, there's not many boards where this works nicely with. I think with Bilgewater, for example, can be really great. I think with certain reroll lines, it can be great. But I think all of those lines are not strong enough to make it good enough. But it does have win-out potential. That's the thing. So if you have a really good spot for a comp that can cap really high, I think, for example, Bilgewater is a great case of this. Then, obviously, you can take it. But a lot of the other reroll lines, even with no Scout, no Pivot, are going to be so weak that it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, you don't actually hit the win out conditions, if that makes sense. Para Force, you're playing 2-4 cost, sure, makes sense. Pandora's Bench, I don't like this that much, but let me reread it to see if there's something else. It's basically the silver augment that now just gives you a little bit of gold and is a gold augment. I already didn't like it as a silver augment, so I'm just putting in C tier. I think that it's too slow. That's the main thing with it. Now, I think in other cases I talked that it's like situational, like whether or not you go for like certain units or whatnot, but I feel like it's just too slow, right? Pandora's Bench, it's really good in certain lines, especially if you're playing reroll, if you're trying to tempo. You can use it to fish for a particular 5 cost or particular 4 cost. But with unlocks in the set, I feel like you're not usually fishing for the units anyways. You're usually unlocking them and then rolling, and you have to have like level requirements and stuff to make that happen in the first place. So it's like, it's really awkward in my opinion to play around. And then in general, I just don't think, I just think it's too slow. I think that the odds of you hitting the right units, like sometimes it looks like the greatest augment in the game because you click it and you hit all your units and you're like, holy shit, Pandora's Bench is broken. But I guarantee you, if you play enough games of Pandora's Bench, I've played so many. I played Pandora's Bench when it was an opener where you would, like, everybody would get it for free. Like, the opener was like, oh, Azir appeared, and like, this was in set 9, I think it was Azir, and it was like, oh, Azir appeared, and guess what? The 3 slots on your bench are going to be rotating, and the whole lobby had Pandora's Bench. It wasn't an augment, it was like a literal encounter, right? Oh, back then it was portals, you had to vote on it, right? And even then it was too slow. Like, I've played enough games of it, I feel like it's just too slow. That's my thing. Now, if you don't think it's too slow and you think it's broken, that's fine. A lot of people really love this augment. I didn't even think it was good as a silver, and now it's a gold. So you can imagine how badly I think of it, right? Like, I don't even want to start the discussion. Pandora's items, I put in B tier. I already talked about it yesterday with the silver ones. I don't think it's broken. Fixing your items in certain spots is really good, but in general, it doesn't feel like it gives you enough value for what it is. And same with Pandora's bench, it's really slow, right? You can take Pandora's items and you could be greeting for one item and it will just take the entire game and just through your whole game because you didn't slam your items early, right? A lot of TFT is playing with what you have and being able to like slam items that make sense in your spot. Pandora's is good for fixing things if you're in a really bad spot, but it's not something you want to commit to very easily, in my opinion. Patient Study, I think, is S tier. We'll put it over here, actually. I don't know. Patient Study could be S tier. It's one of the best econs, right? Because it gives you 2 XP if you win or 3 XP if you lose. So it has really good value for what it is. You're getting at least like 2 or 3 gold per turn with it. Pilfer, I don't like Pilfer that much. But they buffed it, so I'll put it in B tier. Basically, if you get a Thieves Gloves now, right? If you get 25 gold worth of champions, you get Thieves Gloves. But 25 gold worth of champions is often really hard because most of the time with Pilfer, you're killing the worst units, which is the 1 or the 2 costs. So it actually takes a really long time to cash out the Thieves Gloves anyways. But you can take it. It's solid. What's good is if you Pilfer is a lot better if you have a really heavy single target damage dealer. Because if you have a single target damage dealer, like somebody that just like melts one unit, Pilfer is a lot better because then you can maybe position that unit to melt the unit that you want, and then you could farm yourself like some 5 costs, you can farm yourself some 4 costs later in the game, because like if you're playing towards like a melting unit, it makes a lot of sense. Like for example, like Bel'Veth, right? If you're playing Bel'Veth, Pilfer is a little bit better because you can position the Bel'Veth specifically to target down the exact unit you want to get, and you have a higher chance of doing it because Bel'Veth is like a single target melter, right? Her whole thing is that if she attacks a unit multiple times, she starts to increase the damage she does against them. So she just melts one unit, and you can maybe kill or farm, like, you know, if somebody has an unitemized Shyvana, you can put the Bel'Veth in front of the Shyvana and try and melt the Shyvana. You know what I mean? It's like stuff like that. That's where I think it's a little bit better if you're playing towards those type of lines. Plot armor, just gives armor. I think it's solid, but like, you know, it takes like this like thing to scale up to a significant amount, so it's a little bit awkward. Poison Fouls, I think Singe sucks now, so this is just absolute garbage. Like, they basically Singe was really broken in PvE. Now he's really dog shit, and basically you never want to play him ever for any reason. So I don't think you should ever click this augment. that's my take. Portable Forge gives you an artifact, B tier, if you want an artifact. Precision and Grace, on takedown, allies dash to their next target. This is really good for some melee carries. If you're not playing around melee carries, a little bit awkward. But melee carries would love this because the dashing to the other targets is a really powerful effect. So I'll put in B tier for that reason. Preparation, I put in C tier. I think that Preparation gives an insane amount to stats, but so much of set 16 is about pivoting your boards and fitting in expensive units late game, which makes Preparation very hard to play around, because Preparation is very good if you know what you're playing and you're hard committed to a comp. Like for example, if you're playing a reroll line, then you take it and you buy the units and you keep them on your bench, they gain the stats, and then they're really powerful when you put them in. It's really hard to do that because a lot of times you're just like rolling, playing what you hit, and it's like a fumble because you're trying to stabilize your board and then you have to swap stuff in and out. I find this a little bit too much. I try and avoid this augment personally. Prize Fighter. If you're really strong, you get 2 components to start, which is okay. It's a little bit less than a gold, but every 5 wins you get an extra component. So if you get 5 wins, it's already at a gold value, and you have the potential for this to be a lot better. So take it from a strong spot, it can be really good. I put in B tier. Promise Protections, Protector's Vow if you really need it. This could be good on like Swain type of boards and stuff like that, but it's a little bit awkward because it's not like the craziest of items to get. Pyromaniac gives you a red buff for anti-heal. If you need it, you can take it. Raining Gold, I think, is not that much gold compared to some of these other ones, so I'm actually going to put it in B tier. It is a really solid econ augment. Definitely you take it if you need econ, but I think these other econ augments are like a tier above. I think they're just better. Because with Raining Gold, the 1 gold per round is pretty weak. The 7 gold early is great because you can make interest, but 1 gold per round, I'd rather have some of these other augments that give you 3 XP, which is 3 gold per round, or 2 XP, which is 2 gold per round with other stat buffs. I think that's a little bit weaker for what it is. Reinforcement, 12 gold and you upgrade a 4 cost. This is like the bailout augment B tier. If you need it, you take it, right? Upgrades your 4 costs. Replication, you get 3 components. If you need 3 of the same components, it can be really good, but there is a little bit of an RNG aspect to it, so be prepared to low roll with it. But 3 components for a gold, what can you say? It's gold. That's a gold augment, B tier. Salvage bin, I really like salvage bin, but I think these are also B tier. Salvage bin and salvage bin plus, they both give you 3 components, which is nice. But it also allows you to remake your components really nicely. It's really great for pivots for that reason. And this set, you get a lot of removers, which helps with salvage bin quite a bit, because you can always optimize those items a little bit better late game based on whatever you hit. So I really like it. I'm a big fan of salvage bin, but for what it's worth, it's also just 3 components, so it's in that gold tier of 3 components. Savings account, I think, is very strong. I think savings account is A tier. It's hard to say, but basically, after you earn 50 gold of interest, you gain 30 gold. So it gives you 30 gold. Now, you have to make 50 gold of interest, so there are some spots, but that's really hard. But if you have an econ opener, you can usually cash this out by the end of stage 5. Sorry, the end of stage 2, excuse me. Blah, blah, blah. The end of stage 2. The other thing that's great, though, is that even if you don't have a lot of econ early, it gives you 4 gold at the start. There's a lot of times that I see savings account in like an econ opener, and I'm making 20 on 2-1. That's insane, because 20 on 2-1 means that I'm cashing out 50 gold before stage 2 even ends. Because 20 gold, I make 30 the next turn, I make 40. Then after carousel, I'm making 50, and bang, I'm at 30 gold. Now, it says 50 gold in interest. Oh, wait, sorry. After you earn 50 gold in interest. Oh, I misread it. Oh, wait. Okay, this one's a little bit awkward. You need an econ opener for this, right? Yeah. Sorry. Disregard. We'll put in B tier. Okay, you need an sorry. You need to have, you can only really take this when you have like Scuttleputt or something else. It's not 50 gold and you get 30 gold. It's 50 gold in interest, which means you have to rush to 50 gold so that you can cash it out really early. Because you need to earn like the 3, the 2, like you have to earn the interest gold to get to the 30 gold. Right, your max interest is increased to 7, which is nice, because that's why it's good. Because if you're in Scuttlepuddle, you can make it to 70 gold really early. Because what I was saying before, making it to 20, that's what I meant. Like, you make it to 20, make it 30, make it 40, make it to 50. But then when you're at 50, you make it to 70. Then when you make it to 70, you cash out that 50 gold of interest in only 4 turns after. Because you would already have the gold earlier. So you cash it out, like, before stage 3 carousel. That's the math for it. Sorry. I was confusing it with something else. I apologize, because I was confusing it with like my old logic for it, which was when I misread it the last time, and then I just like an idiot misread it a second time, and I was comparing it to the wrong thing. But that's the way that it kind of works. So that's why it's not like, it is a lot of gold, it gives you a lot of value, and it increases your interest threshold. But you need to take it from a spot where you're making enough gold. So when I look at this, I want to be making 20 gold on 2-1. If I can make 20 gold on 2-1, bang, I click it. That's how I mathed it out to rationalize it for my gameplay. You can rationalize however you want for your gameplay. It does give a lot of gold, 30 gold, but it is a little bit delayed. So be careful with it. But the interest increasing does help a lot with making it to that 50 gold in interest. Sentinels of Light, Lucian and Senna, and a 2-star Vayne. What the fuck? I haven't seen this one, but I think it's broken because Senna's broken. I'm going to put in B tier, just for like future proofing, but like right now Senna Lucian is broken, so I feel like you just click this no matter what just to get a Senna. The problem is you have to play a Vayne, but Vayne isn't even that bad. Vayne is long shot, and it's a little bit awkward to fit in. I'll put it here just because you have to play the Vayne. I don't know if an augment, like it's just because Senna Lucian is broken. That's the only reason this is good. If Senna Lucian is like slightly nerfed in like a patch or 2, this augment is not good. You know what I mean? Seraph Staff, this is great. Gives you Archangel and powers them up to give more mana regen. Works on a lot of the AP lines. Definitely a great option. Silco's Revenge. I think this augment is fucking useless. I don't know if this is good or not. Like, I think Vertical Zon is like weird, because sometimes it's really good, but a lot of times it's really bad. And it's so hard to gauge how strong it is for me, because like Warwick, when I play him, he's fucking dog shit. And when I look at the stats, he's dog shit. So it's like, I don't know if it's me, but like some people just like swear by Zon being good, and I just don't believe them. The problem with this is that it forces you to play Vertical Zon a lot of times, because you're not getting a lot of value off of this if you don't play all Zon units. Now 7 Zon got buffed from PBE, but I don't think 7 Zon outcaps 5 cost boards, and I don't think this augment makes it good enough to do so. It doesn't scale them, it doesn't give them extra stats, it doesn't make them stronger units, and then you're forced to play like a fucking Singed a lot of the time as well. Like, this is obviously was way better when Singed was broken. But, like, that's what I mean. I definitely wouldn't want to play around this ever. Unless I really had an insane spot for it. Slamming, I really like it. 2 gold per round. You have to slam your items. That's fine. You usually want to slam your items anyways. Both of these are really good. And then they also give you a component. I love the component aspect of it. I prefer slamming over a lot of these other econ augments, just because I find that playing around the component gives me a lot of early info that makes me a lot more comfy with my item slams. Right? If I have a component, I know better what I want to take on carousel. I know better what units I want to play, AP or AD. I like having that information. So I like these quite a bit. Technically, you know, Patient Study gives more. These ones give more, like Cluttered Mind, Clear Mind. Obviously, like, you can argue, but they're definitely in the same tier. I personally like them a lot more. Solo leveling, I think, is very bad. I'm going to put in C tier. I think that's really hard to get value off of this. So this gives 2 components, and then it gives XP per kill. The problem is, solo leveling was broken in set 15, but that's because you would get a fruit on the unit, which would make them really, really powerful. Without a fruit on a unit, solo leveling is very situational to either having an upgraded 2-cost unit or a 3-cost unit, but it's like, it's very few units that actually make great use of it, and I feel like it puts you in an awkward spot, because like, if you're lose streaking with solo leveling, like, the econ that you get from it and the components is not really worth it, in my opinion, when there's other augments that give you potentially more econ and the components earlier, but also don't force you to, like, play the way that you're playing. Now, obviously, the best case scenario with solo leveling is that you sell all your units except for one, so you're making a lot of interest gold, and that's how you, like, make up for it. It's like the fact that you only have to play one unit, it makes it a lot better. But if you're, like, getting railed all of those rounds anyways, like, it doesn't feel like it's that much different than like just open forwarding, right? Just playing one unit anyways, right? The problem is, like, there's so many units where it doesn't work well with now that it's, like, bad. Obviously, if you have like a Briar 2 or Kiana 2 or some, like, really, really broken 3-cost, like, it's obviously gonna be a lot better. But the situation where I want to take this is significantly less, so I've definitely put in that C tier. Solo plate. It gives you a gargoyle. It can work well. You can even unlock a Skarner with this thing. But then if you solo frontline them, which you want to do anyways, they gain 10% extra HP. So it can work really well. Especially if you have multiple gargoyle stone plates, you can make like, you know, a little like tiered section where it's like, you have like one in one row and one in the second row and whatever. But it's pretty okay. It's pretty good. It's like if you need it, that is. Spear's Will, 10 attack damage and 5 mana. It's similar to the other ones, but the 5 starting mana is pretty good, so I put in the B tier, not in the C tier. Speedy Double Kill, this one's in B tier. It gives you a Gwinsu, which a lot of units love to have. It does have this extra effect when 2 players are eliminated, gain 40 gold. So it is a little bit on the weaker side. Like, you know, obviously the other ones that give you an item, it kind of gives you like a power up with the item. This one, the power up is linked to 2 people getting eliminated. However, if you take this from a good spot, it's definitely solid because Gwinsu is usually like one of the key items on a unit, right? Like Stone Plate and Archangels and some of these other items that you get, they're not like key items on a unit. Gwinsu is like essential on certain units. Not necessarily essential, but you know what I mean. It's one of like their main auto-attacking items. So it's really good early game and it's really good mid game. So you can actually win streak a lot with this, and then you can usually get to the point where you get the 40 gold. Either way, I would just take the if I need a Gwinsu. That's the way I treat it. And I don't think it's like C tier for that reason. I think it's like okay, because Gwinsu is usually something that you actually want to take sometimes. So I put over there. Spirit Link. You recover HP if you lose a bunch of HP. Just a great way to add some extra tankiness to your board. Spirit of Redemption, similar to the other ones, right? This one makes the Spirit Visage similar to the old item that it was, which was Redemption. Works really well if you have lots of high HP frontline units, which often works really well with like the 5-cost meta because they all have a lot of HP as well. Spoils of War, I'm going to put in Ascension tier. I almost never click this. The loot table is not good enough to warrant this being a good augment, and you need to be really strong in order to cash out the stuff. I think it's really weak in terms of an augment because you're basically saying to yourself, I'm going to be stronger than other people without taking a gold augment. It can be great for tempo, it can be great in certain spots, of course, but very, very rare that I want to take that. Spreading Roots, 2 random emblems. If you want to play around emblems, it's fine. I'm going to put these in B tier because it could give you direction, but you could get griefed by it. I don't personally like them, but a lot of people do like to have the direction with the emblem, so it's fine. Staffsmith, I actually think these are really solid, but you could get griefed by it. But it's basically 2 full items for a gold augment. I think it's really powerful because usually a gold augment you only get one item, which is what you get in a lot of these other cases, or you're only getting 3 components. Here you're getting 4 components. If you need anything that builds off rods, they're pretty good. The problem with the rods, it's a little bit awkward sometimes because you can get like a Gwinsu and a Crown Guard, you know, and a lot of times you're clicking this because you want to play like an AP unit. So it could be really awkward, but I feel like there's enough units that like the rod items and they're pretty flexible, that you can do pretty well with them. Actually, maybe I'll move it down because you can get griefed by it. Now that I think about it, there's also Spark, right? You can get a Spark, and that's like even worse if you already have a Spark. So I'll move it down. There are some rod items that can grief you. Stars Are Born. I think this is really solid to just start off your game really well. Similar to like Heroic Grab Bag, you basically can upgrade a 1 cost and a 2 cost, and you get 7 gold, so you can just have a really good opener. Swordsmith. This one I think is better than Rodsmith, because the sword items, it's hard to get griefed, because if you want sword items, they're all pretty good. And then obviously the Starex is broken, so some of the frontline ones are also really good. So I think this one's a lot more generic, and you get 2 completed items, so A tier. Golden Dragon, I think this one's okay. You have to play 1 less unit, so it's situational when this is good. I had a game where I played it with like a Rift Herald. I don't know if I've ever posted on my VOD channel. I might have forgotten to, but I think it's pretty good when I tried it out. But Mogul's Mail is not the greatest of items, but at least this makes like a Giga Tank unit, and it kind of has like that Colossal effect where you have to play 1 less unit. So situational, but it's okay. This is the Viego Hero Augment. I think right now it's pretty solid, but obviously you need a good spot for it, so I'm just going to put in B tier. I think it's pretty good because you start with a 2-star Viego, which just starts your Shadow Isle train going. So it has like a good way of like taking an opener and like going with it, if that makes sense. So I think it's really solid. But B tier because it's a little bit situational. You still have to have Viego items. Thorn Plated, I think is really solid. You get a Bramble. Bramble's really good early game. Tons of stats, I think is just a great way to add some extra stats. B tier. Trade Sector, I think, is broken. For an Econ Augment, you get a lot of value in rerolls. It's basically 2 gold per round, plus it starts with 4 gold, which is really nice. Those rerolls you can also use early. A lot of times you take this and you can unlock Bard for free because you don't have to waste your gold to unlock him with the rerolls before stage 2. You can also use it to stabilize your mid game, right? Having rerolls, you basically can use them whenever you want. So whenever you feel like you need to roll for something, you can, which is really powerful. Treasure Hunt, I think, is B tier. I don't think there's many... Actually, I think it's C tier. I think that there's not really roll... you know what? B tier. You can actually cash this out sometimes. Right, you have to spend 20 gold on shop rerolls, but if you roll later in the game, you can still cash it out a little bit later. Usually it's good for rerolls, and you get a lot of loot from it, but it's a little bit awkward to play around this set, so it's not like broken, it's just like average. Trifecta, if you're playing 3 costs, really good, obviously. Too much value, I think there's lots of cool lines you can play around this. I think the line that you usually want to play with too much value is Yordle. You play Yordle into, get a bunch of free shop rerolls, into 8 Yordle, into Fast 9. That's like a really strong thing. You don't necessarily use it for reroll, but use it for econ generation. Now, obviously, if you don't play Yordle, you then just play a 2-cost mid-game and you use those rerolls on level 8. It actually generates a lot of rerolls because for every 2 unique 2 costs, you gain 1 reroll. So you can get 2 rerolls per turn with this, which is pretty powerful. You can get up to 4 gold of value pretty easily. And you can just farm it pretty well, right? And then the 2 costs, they're decent enough and have good synergies. You can actually make pretty coherent boards with it. And a lot of them also can make it onto your final board, which means you can continue to get those reroll values even into late game. So I think it's solid. I'm going to put in A tier. 2-Trick. I think this is B tier. It is something that gives you a little bit of an opener. You get a 2-star 2 cost and 2 random 2-star 1 costs. But I don't think it's the craziest of augments, but it definitely helps you with like your opener. You just have a little bit less control over it. Earth. Gain a Spatula, and then people holding Spatulas gain extra attack speed and mana regen. I think this is good in those encounters where you have a lot of emblems. If not, I wouldn't really take it. Unsealed from Steel, I think is A tier. I think that some of the Darken items are really powerful, and this is like a tailored version of a powerful item, basically, because you get to pick one of 4 Darkened weapons, and all the Darkened weapons, I think, have really powerful use cases. They're basically like powerful Ornn artifacts, so they're better than the average item, but they also could benefit you quite a bit, because the Darkened Bow is really good on pretty much every auto attacker right now, so it's really broken. So it's definitely A tier, because you just take Darkened Bow, and then you can play Yunara, or like any other line with a Gwinsu, and it's kind of nuts. Additionally, the other Darken items, like I said, have use cases, but because it's tailored to like specifically, you basically open up a shop and you have 4 options of items that they're all have their use case. You just take the one that matches your board, and often they're really strong. I think all of them are decently good, so that's why I put in A tier. Earth's Gambit, you gain a spatula or a frying pan, and you gain a component anvil and 6 gold. If you want to play around an emblem, sure, B tier. Walk the True Path. Oh, this one's the Ionia one. This one's specific. I think this one's good if you are playing for, like, it has to be the one that makes it so that Yasuo is broken. There's, like, the one where he double attacks, or the one that you scale with 3 stars. Because basically you want to play this to play for Yasuo 3, because, you can play this Yasuo 3 into Yone, because you get the lesser champion duplicator. But if you don't have a Yasuo spot, I think this is useless. Warlord's Honor. Every round your team gains 5 attack damage and ability power. I think it's a little bit slow. That's the only thing, right? Every round your team gains 5 attack damage and ability power, stacking up to 4 times. Every round your team gains... I mean, it's 20 and 20. It's pretty good. I don't know if it's A tier though. I'll put in B tier. Warpath I think is very situational. I'm going to put in D tier. It's just such a grief. The Warpath cash out is really good, but like if you don't deal the damage, like you're basically trying to be down an augment, trying to beat up the lobby. It's just not worth it a lot of the time, in my opinion. Wild Growth, I think this one is really bad. So these Yordle ones, I put them in C tier because you could maybe play them in certain spots and like tempo with them. This one you have to play the reroll version of Yordle, and I do not think it's worth it. Worth the wait, I think is B tier. I think most of the 1 costs are pretty good to play around, and it gives you a pretty strong opener. The problem is they nerfed this quite a bit, right? I think it's really slow. Honestly, I think it's C tier. It's so fucking slow now, because you start with 1 cost, and then after 2 rounds, you gain another copy of them. You cash this out so late. A lot of times, it's like middle of stage 3 when you get your 3-star 1 cost. It's not even that good anymore. C tier. Woven Magic. This one's pretty good, right? This is good if you're playing Invokers, though. You get a random item component, so you need to be playing around Invokers or something that gives mana gen. So I'll put in B tier. And that's everything. Nice. Do I want to move up any of these, by the way? Let me check. Honestly, I might do like... Is that too much of a meme? I kind of like it like this. I think these ones are up here. I think these ones are solid. Maybe Patient Study is up. Patient Study is really good because it's 3 gold per round. But then there's also Clutter and Clear Mind. Okay, I'll put all of these here. I think that it's debatable. Some of these can go up, but I think this is fine. I think this is fine. I don't think I want to move these. I think I'm going to move these up though to A tier. Defense and Darkwills. These are the ones that give durability if Ionia and damage amp if thing. And I think I might move Bronze for Life down, because I think Bronze for Life got nerfed. I'm pretty sure it's 2.5. It's not 3. If it was 3, it's A tier. I think now it's 2.5, so I think it's B tier. I think it got nerfed. The 2.5 makes it so that a lot of these other ones are better, so I think there's a separation between the two. But anyways, those are all the gold augments. Holy shit, that took forever. Hopefully that was fine and fun. I tried my best to explain everything. Sorry if it took too long, but I wanted to make sure that I talked about all of them. There's so many augments in the game, so, you know, it is what it is. Thanks for watching. Have a great day and see you. Bye-bye.